When I was growing up, I was taught very little about mental health, to be honest with you. You kind of thinking back now, we heard a lot of stories in school about people struggling with mental health and stuff like that, but we were never taught anything specifically about mental health. We learned we learned nothing, and to be honest, it was not until sitting here now, looking back at some of my friends in school, you realise that they had their own mental health issues, and you didn't notice anything until thinking back now. I think everybody's different, to be honest, when it comes to talking about their feelings. Um, Personally, if anything, with myself, I don't find it very easy to speak about, and I think most people can hold their hands up and say they're the same. Um, they Most people I know, they're not a fan of coming forward and speaking about anything. Um, Sometimes you've got to, dig a little deeper as a friend or as a family member to see if everything is okay. And sometimes you've got to ask somebody if they're okay, if maybe they look a little bit down or acting a little different than usual. And hopefully then they'll come out and tell you what's wrong if there's anything wrong. Being in the rally world, then mental health and being mentally strong is a massive thing, to be honest. We have a very good social life in motorsport, which I think it's easy to kind of switch off from the outside world really when you're in the car, because you're so concentrated on what you're doing. But there has been instances with people in the sport that have come out and said, they are struggling, and they've kind of for themselves, really, they've taken themselves out the car and not competed because of the situation they were in, and they felt safer being out of the car working on their problems, and they've come back now and they're stronger and better drivers and co-drivers than they ever were before. I think that doing what I do helps me with everyday life, really, and I think everybody else can hold their hands up and say, to go away on the weekend, and it takes your mind off work, it takes your mind off everything else, really. It's you're so concentrated on what you're doing and trying to win, trying to be the best you possibly can, and you don't have another worry in the world, really. That it's got to be very hard on somebody to basically be abused for having mental health issues, because it's nobody's fault. There's no fingers to be pointed. Doesn't mean that individual is weak or anything like that. It happens, if I'm completely honest, there's not many people in the world that can hold their hands up and say they've never had a mental health issue, from something small, up to something a lot bigger. There's not many people that can say they've never had an issue like that. It's completely normal. It's natural. Grab a tea, stand up against mental health abuse.